Welcome to Pace and Space. As promised, your guy Jarv alongside the homie Mace are launching our new NBA podcast. And you know what? We hope that you guys lock in with us and enjoy this journey. Mace actually told me this journey was 14 years in the making, as long as I've known Mace. And we realized that we were both NBA junkies. We've been like mapping out this moment, episode 1, for a long time. Granted, we've had NBA collabs in the past on previous podcasts. Shout out to the All Hood Pass team. That was a legendary episode on a previous pod. And we did the All Overrated team, if I'm not mistaken.
We did the All Overrated. We did the All Lakers team. So
yeah, we never got around to the All Underrated team. But we definitely did the all Overrated, and the Hood Pass was legendary episodes. I think we should bring back the Hood Pass vibe for Pace and Space. You know what I mean?
Hey, we should, man.
Just to add a little twist on that. You know what I mean? But like, Macito, man, before we start cooking, like, let the people know, bro. Like what's your love affair with the game like, man?
Listen, man, I'm a fan. I started loving the game for, like a lot of us, because of my pops. You know what I mean? Rest in peace, man. Listen, I remember, he had me watching, them MJ playoff games in the late 90s, you know what I mean? The first game I remember falling in love with the game, Jarv, the 98 All-Star game, which is where I started, becoming a Kobe fan. Okay. We all knew the big bad Wolf Jordan, you know what I mean? Like, even as kids, we knew that was the guy. And I was like, who's this kid with the afro, going at the monster, you know what I mean? Not necessarily winning, but, arrogant enough to 360 dunk in the game where we got Michael Jordan, the guy from Space Jam. He dunked with Bugs Bunny. You know what I mean? So, that began my love affair with the game. The 98 All-Star game, MSG, man. That's where it happened.
I mean, kind of the same, NBA or NBC. Getting that local Knicks game, the big bad bully Knicks. A lot of the people in my house before, like, I'm Caribbean, like the people who came to America from Guyana as I was getting into my formative years were Laker fans, and they brought me into that realm. But I used to support the Knicks because my mom was a Knicks fan. She loved John Starks, so I used to watch Jordan beat the Knicks, and over the years, it was like, as a kid, I'm like, these niggas lose every time it matters, they lost. So it's like there's a history there with me and Knicks fans that we'll get into as this pod comes along. But I'm thankful for my family who came to the country and showed me the ways, even if they showed me the ways when the Lakers weren't shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The Cedric Ceballos era before Nick Van Exel. You know what I mean? I was there. The first jersey I ever owned was a champion Nick Van Exel. I'm thankful for them for showing me the ways of the Laker, and I embodied that, and I stayed the course with cable, without cable. I even hated Kobe when Kobe first came into the league because I was drinking the Kool-Aid, who was this arrogant ballhead Jordan wannabe. There's a whole thing, but I'm thankful for that. And as the years went along, following the Lakers, watching the national TV games, eventually to the league passes, like my love affair of the game just constantly grew. I've watched it evolve over the years, and I can proudly say, Mason, I might have graduated even before rap to angry NBA old head. Yeah, I think I'm fully in that realm now. You know what I'm saying?
You in your bag?
I might be in my bag, but anyway, a little introduction as to what you're gonna get for Pace and Space, and as you file them in, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe. We're a new podcast, and the more you like, the more you comment, the more you subscribe will help us grow this channel expeditiously. We want to grow this channel as fast as we possibly can, and with your help, we could do that. If you're not familiar with us, we also host the Rap Roundtable, and when we ask people on the Rap Roundtable, it's for 300 likes on each and every video. We know YouTube is kind of funny where they place new channels, so for this, we're asking for at least anywhere between 50 and 100 likes as we start off and we venture off into this. We're trying to grow this as fast as possible, but enough bloviation, you mates. They here for some hoops talk. Let's give it to them.
Let's do it.
We got to start this off. Now, it's not an NBA pod if we're not talking about the king. Again, I let y'all know in the beginning, I am a Laker fan. My Laker fandom was almost 30 years strong. LeBron James is arguably the most polarizing figure in all of sports, right? But the question right now, Mace, is at this point in his career, 39 years old, high usage, but is he still a difference maker? In Cleveland and Miami, you could just copy and paste LeBron into situations and he would make the biggest difference, arguably a finals. Now with the Lakers a little bit older, I don't know if that's the case. So let me know from your perspective, is LeBron still a difference maker?
Well, Joe, like you mentioned, we Lakers fans. Let's get that out of the way. You know what I mean? Not necessarily, LeBron James fans. You know what I mean? But we'll let you decide. I feel like we're objective guys, and LeBron is the Lakers, the icon. Now that's a loaded question, y'all. Is LeBron still a difference maker? You know what I mean? That's you're not playing. You right off the. You know what I mean? You taking off. This is like the dreams and nightmares.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? Of intros right now. Is LeBron James still a difference maker? Well, I think it's all dependent on who you ask, right? If you ask the guys who like to grade on a curve, you know what I mean? 21st year, you know what I mean? 39 years old. Right. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys out there like that. You know what I mean? They don't want you to judge LeBron on the same grade paper as everyone else. But me, personally, listen, is he a difference maker in a LeBron James way? No. You know what I mean? If I'm putting him up against Jerry Stackhouse or Michael Finley, you know what I mean? Zach LaVine or something, DeMar DeRozan, maybe, I could call him a difference maker. But 2024 LeBron? No, absolutely not a difference maker. And there's plenty ways to prove so. You know what I mean? I'm going to be honest. The eye test itself, does he look like, you mentioned Miami LeBron. I think that second go round Cleveland LeBron is peak LeBron myself. Wow. And I don't even think he's 2020 LeBron, 2021 LeBron. Right. No, you know what I mean? So I think there's clear times like last season in that stretch run where the team looked better with him off the court. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest. Okay. So I don't know. I don't mean to just come on so strong, you know what I mean? But Joe, how do you feel? Do you think that, LeBron Raymond James is still a difference maker in the league?
Raymond. There's people who know me in my personal life who know where I stand with LeBron. Again, we're setting the tone early. We don't want to surprise anybody. Are we LeBron fans? Like are we flag waving LeBron fans? No. I've grown up and I've known that it's not prudent to hate LeBron James. Like, what we hating on this guy for? He's done everything you could ask a legend to do as an NBA star. But we got to talk about this season and this season alone. Every year there's a rhetoric around LeBron James about help, and he needs help, and he needs this, and he needs that. And in some cases, yes. But for me, I've always said LeBron James is such a powerful entity, and I look at him as the star of that Netflix show House of Cards, to where behind the scenes, he's always moving and shaking. Like, even when he didn't have help in certain situations, he was the person who picked the team. Like, if we're at this point now and you still don't believe that LeBron James is picking his team, then to me, you're an unserious person. LeBron picked his team, and in some cases, he does a great job of picking his team, a la the 2020 Lakers, and sometimes he does a poor job of picking his team, a la I believe it was the 2018 Cavaliers, where he threw the whole team away halfway through the season. Like, it can go either way. We could say a la Westbrook, like that whole idea. That was a clutch move. Anthony Davis, we remember the story. Anthony Davis and LeBron James went to Rob Pelinka and said that we need Russell Westbrook. That was their idea. Somehow or the other, it got spun to where Westbrook was a bad guy, etc., etc. But Laker fans who follow the team, not LeBron fans, Laker fans who follow the team, knew that he pushed for the deal alongside Anthony Davis, and it just didn't work. And if you had two eyes in your head and know the game the way we know the game, we would have told y'all ahead of time this was a bad idea on his head. So I say all of that to say, with this current version of the Lakers, I think it's a decent team. But but at the same time, this team needs LeBron James to be 2020 LeBron James. And with all of that being said, to me, LeBron James is no longer the difference maker. Does that mean he's a bad player? Does that mean he's fallen off? Is he the wash king? None of these things. But LeBron James was such a superhuman on the basketball court to where he tips the scales in his favor 9.5 times out of 10. And that 0.5 time was the Golden State Warriors. Let's call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that 0.5 time where the Warriors are so stacked in the way that LeBron couldn't do nothing with him single-handedly, the favor is always in his way. But I look at this guy and I just see just another NBA player. I look at the Lakers and when the few times he's been out and I see the ball moving, I see players a little more activity off the ball. Granted, Coach Darvin Ham is an idiot. We don't like him. But the fact of the matter is this: I believe that LeBron James has kind of gotten in the way of the success of the Lakers. Not to say that he's a ball hog, But it's just like the way he approaches the game without his superior athleticism, he can't do that anymore, Mace. So then I went to the numbers, and I'm not even a stats guy. I'm strictly an eye test guy. But I said, you know what? For me to do my due diligence, I have to pull up the stats. So I went to StatMuse, right?
Right.
And I looked at the Lakers' offensive efficiency on StatMuse with LeBron James. They have an offensive efficiency of 115.5 with LeBron James.
Right.
Without LeBron James, they have an offensive efficiency of 117. You can look this up yourself if you don't believe me, right? Then I looked at the defensive rating with LeBron James, 115.9, right? Without LeBron James, 118.1. So you can see that they're slightly a better team defensively when LeBron is on the floor. But if the offensive rating is 115.5 and the defensive rating is 115.9, that is an average team. That's damn near 500, right? So then I looked up Lakers' record with LeBron James, right?
Right.
27-24. Without LeBron James, they are 4-4. So essentially, the data tells me that with LeBron James, the Lakers are an average team. Without LeBron James, they are an average team. Therefore, he's not the difference maker he once was. You hear this data, you hear what I'm saying to you right now, and what do you say to that, Mace?
You know, Jav, you caught yourself in your old head phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm in my semi-old head phase when it comes to the game. You know, we got a lot of years in the game, Jav.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we people of our ilk, they usually get accused of, like you say, you know, just being eye test guys. Shout out to my boy Bulls Don't Stop. You know what I mean? The Kobe disciples, we got love for you. But, you know what I mean? We're introducing ourselves to a new crowd, y'all. And I want them to know that we're no better than anyone else. And like you, Job, I love to use numbers when they in our favor. So I looked up a couple numbers myself.
Talk about
it. I did. And you know, you mentioned a couple of Lakers efficiency numbers. You know, the on-off numbers look a little spooky too, Job. This is a guy, LeBron James, who in his Miami prime, in his Cleveland prime, was a plus 13, a plus 14. He got some plus 17 seasons. You know what I mean? In his back-to-back MVP seasons early in his Cleveland career. You know what I mean? This guy was consistently, you know what I mean, making his team better on the court. You want to know this season, he's a plus 6. One of the 3 times in his career he's been single digits. You know what I mean? You want to know about the points per possession? He's only at 1 this season. You know what I mean? This is a guy who just 3-4 years ago was at plus 7. You know what I mean? You know, I've never been a John Hollinger guy, but if you love the per stats like Mike Kellerman does, this is his lowest per since his rookie season. Okay. You know what I mean? So when we talking about, you know, watching certain things, the numbers, you know, not necessarily, you know, counting stats are out of whack these days. You know what I mean? With the 3-point, the pace, you know what I mean? It's like the 60s all over again. But when we get to these advanced statistics, you know what I mean? The statistics that LeBron dominated once upon a time, these were the reasons when we were saying, hey, don't look at those, you know, this guy is better, this guy is better. The people would point to these numbers. And these numbers say he's clearly not the guy, not even half the guy he used to be.
Well, you know what? And for the sake of fairness, I'll say, Coach Darvin Ham, of the post-Phil Jackson era of coaches that have come through this door, I feel like the Lakers have yet to have a good head coach post-Phil. We've had some decent coaches. Vogel was a decent coach, but he got exposed relatively quickly. He got exposed in one offseason, if we're being truthful. Granted, COVID did happen, but we weren't as dominant as we once were because, as you can see with Phoenix right now, he's not good at juggling talent. He's not good at rotations, etc. Luke Walton was a sham mockery. We thought he was good until he got real players and he got ran out of town. You know, and then he went to Sacramento and he definitely got exposed because as soon as they made one trade and got rid of the coach, they were a playoff team and took Golden State 7 games. Fair is fair. Mike Brown, you know what I mean? He's doing this thing in Sacramento. But Mike Brown 10 years ago is not Mike Brown today. He took a lot of lessons and the way the game has changed, to your point about how offense has changed, hides a lot of Mike Brown's faults. Let's go all the way over to Coach Pockets himself. Well, I'll argue that some of his lineup combinations and the fact that he, at certain points, he was determined to have guys like Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince on the floor at the same time, 2 minus offensive players next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. that does play a role in poor offensive efficiency numbers. Fair is fair, because that would be the counter argument that it's the coach's fault. But what I'll say is, granted, the coach is doing some very moronic things. In the past, LeBron James, a superhuman player himself, was able to supersede any coaching deficiency to the tune of dragging a team to the finals. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying, that's what got me to look. I said, usually LeBron could survive idiot coaches. This 39-year-old player cannot. Is it fair to say that Darvin Ham is playing a role in it, or is it just that LeBron is older now, Mace?
I definitely say that Darvin Ham is not the coach to maximize a player like LeBron. I'm not above saying that at all. I do think he could be utilized better. We've seen, different careers end in different ways. We mentioned Kobe. I feel like he had bad coaching towards the end of his career. Coaching that didn't maximize his talents, as opposed to Tim Duncan, who was, Greg Popovich always knew how to use him all the way up until his last game. You know what I mean? So I do think that the later that you get in your career, good coaching that puts you in the best position to maximize your talents and the talents around you, of course it's important. But just like you say, Job, like, come on, this is a player who the fans will tell us has never had a great coach, as if Eric Spoelstra is not staring us right in the face. You know what I mean? So if this is a guy who is a GOAT candidate, and make no mistake, this is a GOAT candidate, and he's never had that iconic Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, Greg Popovich on the sidelines, then, what's the problem now? This guy, he went to the finals with coaches who never coached again, right? So I don't know, people have to remember, we're grading LeBron James on the LeBron James scale. Is LeBron James, he's an all-star. He's an all-NBA player if he plays enough games to get to that point. But if I'm grading him by his lofty standards, then no. I what I'm saying is clear.
Okay. You know what? I think we'll leave this topic here. Comment section, let us know. Like, run the comments up. Is LeBron James still a difference maker? Do you think we're bugging? Let's not get personal and take swipes. We're not that type of podcast where we're trying to slander players. We have a basketball dialogue. Do you think that LeBron is still a difference maker? Is Darvin Ham at fault? Is it a combination of LeBron no longer being the difference maker and a bad coach, and LeBron needs to just play a role like Anthony Davis shine? Maybe we're burying the lead. This actually, LeBron needs to just be okay with being number 2. Because real quick, another number out there, we're gonna get into this more as this podcast goes along. LeBron is still top 10 in time of possession, and I feel like a player of his stature at his age doesn't need to be dominating the ball like that. If you brought in all these ball handlers, you have D'Lo, you have Austin Reeves, you have guys who can create, and LeBron can play off the ball and make some things happen, a la Heat LeBron. Maybe he needs to invest in that, but we'll get into that at a later date. But for now, in the comment section, go there, let us know. Is LeBron James still a difference maker? Is he not? Is it Darvin Ham? Or is it something that we haven't mentioned? Maybe we're forgetting something here. We're not perfect, right? But nevertheless, again, hit that like button. If you're in here, you're watching right now, if you chose to press play, immediately hit that like button right after that. Also, hit the subscribe. Turn the post notifications on. That way we can grow the channel as quickly as possible. Post notifications are key because they'll let you know anytime we drop, whether it's a new video, a reel, not a reel, a short, or even just simply a community post. Run those stats up. And let's get into the next segment. A tweet came out the other day that says, the NBA Competition Committee has officially begun reviewing whether the game has become too advantageous for offense and whether some changes need to be implemented to achieve better balance. So apparently, after the All-Star Game sham mockery, aka debacle, Adam Silver is looking around and figuring we got to make some changes to the NBA product. You see this tweet, Mace? The first question I have for you is, how realistic are these changes that could be made that could potentially improve the product?
How realistic? Oh, yes. Man. Well,
because we could just say, bring back hand checking. You know what I mean? Everybody loves to say that. How realistic is that in today's product,
And right, we have to be honest, the players who didn't even grow up using hand checking, would they even be able to utilize it effectively? Right. But I got to say, the first question that actually came into my mind is, what was it? Right, like what was the moment that happened that the league said no? You know what I mean? Like, this This is too much. Was it the back-to-back 70s? You know what I mean? Was it the 200-point All-Star game? There's so many moments this season that you could be. That was it, right? But how realistic is it, y'all? I think. Listen, it's a different game, right? Let's be honest. It's a different game. The players, the way they play, the skills they display. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things. So I don't know if defense will ever look like the 94 finals again. If that's what we're waiting for, you know what I mean? I don't think we'll ever get that again. The 04 finals with the Pistons keeping everybody under 70 points. That's not how it's going to work. Now, maybe, you know, a little bit more resistance. You know, not everybody scoring 70. You know, half the league averaging 30 points a game. I think, you know, people would like to see that. And is it realistic? Yes, I do think it's realistic. You know what I mean? I think there's some specific changes that they could make to shake the game up a little bit. And one of the biggest things, you know what I mean? Let me just come out right with it. One of the biggest things is the 3-second rule. There's been numerous players who've mentioned this, numerous talking heads, the smart guys of the NBA circles. You know what I mean? Even players who come from FIBA, they let you know the 3-second rule, especially now when you got so many guys just waiting at the top of the key, waiting for a pick and roll, just waiting for the big to clear out. You know what I mean? With shooters all over the floor. I mean, come on now. The 3-second rule. That's number one, job. No more 3-second rule. Eliminate it. That's one way to change the defense.
So just for the sake of clarity, you're saying you don't mind having a big camped out in the paint?
I don't mind. I mean, I think it would help defenses in modern times.
Okay. You know what? Like, and it's crazy because the FIBA game, you can still get the buckets. You still get the offensive flow. But they allow for a certain level of physicality. The only thing I don't like about the FIBA game, if I'm being 100, is the goaltending rule. Once the ball is on the rim, slapping it off there, I don't like that. To me, that's Bush League. Again, that could be my American sensibilities because I've only known the game to be played a specific way. But it just looks whack, like this, like we playing in gym, we playing Utah somewhere. There's no, or 21 for those who don't know where Utah is, and there's no fouls. There's no rules essentially in Utah besides you can't dribble, you can't double dribble, shit like that. Right. Smacking the ball off the rim, like, that's whack to me. But I would say the NBA, not like, you see how like at one point they was considering completely adopting the FIBA game sometime around the mid-90s, all the way down to the trapezoid paint. But then in all actuality, you see that the FIBA eventually adopted the NBA's court design. I think that this should just be universal basketball rules. Make it the world game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not one to speak out of turn, but I feel like soccer is soccer as another game that's considered a world game. I'm not sure if there might be some little differences to the MLS game, but the general, the spirit of the game, the rules of the soccer match are what they are from country to country. The same for hockey. So why can't NBA just adopt the FIBA rules? First and foremost, allow them more physicality. There'll still be that same kind of pace because, again, allegedly, what the NBA is adopted is a European style of play. So why not just go all the way with it, right? You know what I'm saying? My only qualm about like having a big camped out is that offenses are so high tech now that, oh, you want to camp out in the paint? They'll find a way to hunt out the big who wants to stay in the paint and force them to come out to guard somebody on the perimeter. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can say, because we started seeing it around Golden State, Cleveland era, where we really started seeing how teams would hunt specific players and pick and roll actions. So you can't, from my perspective, that means they just hunt the big. You want to stay over there? If you don't contest this 3-point shot, come out that paint. You dig?
It could work. It could work. Listen, I don't want the new strategy to necessarily be undefeatable. You know what I mean? We don't want anything not to be able, you know what I mean? Of course, there's going to be a way to figure it out, but, you know, that's two of the best teams in the last 10 years you mentioned. They can figure it out. LeBron James, you know, I think he was one of the original players, especially in the NBA Finals, who was constantly hunting mismatches. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, he ate off of that in that second Cleveland era. So, you know, I can definitely see a player with that type of basketball IQ.
Not to jump in.
Nah, go ahead.
I guess they could find more creative ways to play defense where you could live by the paint, you could hedge a little bit more in the paint area. You know, like, remember when Boston played the Lakers the first time and their whole defense was that wall. You had the front line defender and the wall behind that front line defender to stop Kobe from getting to the rim. Maybe they could, if you get rid of the 3 seconds, there'll be more creative ways to build walls that would have been 3-second violations in the past. And now you know what I mean? I guess it will create more creativity. You could have a foot in the paint. You could jump out if necessary, shit like that. Secondary defenders. When you play against a team like a LeBron or a Steph, where it's like maybe Clay's not playing, Draymond's not playing, you want to hone in on him, block the paint, and lock him down. A new version of a boxer one, allegedly. Maybe. But for me, I guess I don't want to call it hand checking, but I just feel like some of it with the issues with the league is general want to, right? Because the way the game is played and called, and some of the vets who are still in the league when they go on those podcasts, and some of the recently retired players would say that you really can't touch players anymore. So there's no real incentive to play defense unless you have a certain reputation. Like a Pat Bev is getting away with certain things that Joe Nobody's not going to get away with. Right? So I guess I would say not necessarily hand checking, but like allow even more contact on the perimeter. Let somebody get in on you. I guess it would be hand shaking. Allow guys to put that hand back on the hip a little bit. Just because everything is so free flowing and formulaic. You run the pick and roll, 1-4 pick and roll action. Do you trap the ball handler? No. Do you switch? Yes. Ball flows. Eventually, it makes its way to the corner for the open shot. I was watching the Celtics and Knicks game the other night on ABC, and they double teamed Drew Holiday in the post. And I was at somebody's house, and I'm like, they're gonna double team Drew Holiday in the post. He's gonna kick it back out the post, and they're gonna swing it over and find an open three in the corner. I literally called the play about 5 seconds before the play actually happened. I don't even like the Celtics, but I knew what was gonna happen. The game is so formulaic. I think allowing more physicality will break up some of that formula. What do you think about that?
I agree with that, and that's why another thing I think you need to eliminate is these bullshit, you know what I mean, offensive fouls that are going on. You know what I mean? Like, listen, how many times are you watching the league nowadays and somebody slides in right up under somebody and gets that offensive foul? It's ruined countless Ja Morant highlights. Vince Carter didn't have to go through this. You know what I mean? So I think that allowing physicality, even going as far as to changing some of the, the verticality rules, you know what I mean? Letting a little bit more physicality go on at the rim. It could work. And I think this is the thing, Job. I don't want to, I don't want to go back to 75-point games, 80-point games. You know what I mean? I love the game. I love the skill set of the players nowadays. But I think what me and you were trying to convey is that we need more versatility. We need the only valuable player nowadays is all the same type of player, a shot creator, you know what I mean? A big wing, you know what I mean? A point guard that got some range on their jumper. So it's like, there are no Tony Allens, there are no Anthony Masons, you know what I mean? There are no, players who play completely different that are completely just as valuable as, the shot creator. You know what I mean? A Ben Wallace couldn't exist, obviously, because of his lack of offense. But I'm tired of all the same players playing the exact same way. You know what I mean?
And that, boom, and it's like, it goes to the TV product. There's no, I would say for the most part, 90% of the league plays the same type of games. Of course, are there nuances that the average fan won't notice? Of course. But for the most part, the final 6 minutes of an NBA game with two high-level teams generally looks the same. Hunt mismatch, hunt mismatch, hunt mismatch, drop to the basket, kick for the three, or a scramble play that leads to an ugly shot or a three-point shot. There's no uniqueness about it. Again, maybe it's the angry old head of me, but I just feel like the game has become so formulaic because of the analytics, and we're not analytics bashers because there are benefits to analytics, but the game has gotten so analytics dependent to where everyone feels like we got to do the same thing. The corner three is valuable. The layup is valuable. The 3-point shot with 3 points is more than 2 points more valuable. Find a way to get that. And then sometimes you get into situations where those are not the shots that you want in those situations. If you play pure basketball, you know what I'm saying? Maybe the middies did take the midi. You see sometimes, fans, y'all watching this? There's times with guys, they getting so in their head with the analytics that they'll give up an open layup for a 3-point shot. Because the analytics and their scout reports and their practice meetings, etc., have told them if the open three is there, take the shot. You had a whole layup right there. Why'd you kick it out? Programming. It's terrible programming. But I have a question for you. You mentioned like the Ben Wallaces of the world. some people would say that the league is set up where the skill level is at an all-time high, and they've played the Tony Allens and the Ben Wallaces out of the league. Is that in fact the case, or is it that the game has gotten so much easier for a particular type of player and they've been maximized in that regard?
And that's basically it, Job. It's like they've stripped the superpowers of certain type of players. You know what I mean? So it's like if we go so far into one lane, you know what I mean? It's why, you know, all the old heads say, you know, I would average 43 this era. I would average 45 because they come from an era that was more evenly matched. Maybe even where the defensive player had a more advantageous time, you know what I mean, while you were on the court. So it's like when players are allowed to, you know, you can't get up under them on a three-pointer, which is, I don't have a problem with. I can't stand Dante Jones to this day because he used to always, you know, Bruce Bowen too. I understand, but it's like, you know, there is no way to play defense for a player. Sometimes you literally see the defender, you know, say to the ref, like, what do you want me to do? Like, there's no way to play D. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't want, obviously, you know, Ben Wallace and Tony Allen are two extreme examples, right? These were guys who kind of had no offensive game. But Bruce Bowen, Shane Battier, you know what I mean, A.V. Bradley.
The original guys, 3 and Ds.
You know what I'm saying? These were guys who, you know, offensively, they provided value. You know what I'm saying? And they were so good defensively that the one skill that they had offensively that they exceeded at, you know what I mean? It made up for it. But if it's like, if a player can't play any defense, then that corner three ain't so valuable anymore. You feel me?
That's a fact. I mean, listen, Adam Silver wants to fix it. And my last point before we move on is this. Part of the reason why Adam Silver wants to fix this is, yes, the All-Star game was an abomination. There was no effort. And to me, that was the representation of a lot of players' approach to the NBA lifestyle. Like, the pride is lacking. And even further than that, it's still business. It's all math. If these TV networks are ponying up billions of dollars for TV rights to air these games, and the way the CBA is set up, some of that money goes right directly into the players' pockets. A lot of my older fans here, they'll know that player salaries leaped one year from to the next when the new TV deal came in, and you had guys like Timofey Mozgov getting what you would think are inflated contracts, but the reality was there was a new normal because of the TV money that came into the league. So, and I think there's a new TV, if I'm not mistaken, if it hasn't already happened, there's another TV deal on the way. And there's talks of maybe ESPN might get out of the NBA business. Let's talk, maybe TNT might get out of the NBA business. That talk will get louder if this league doesn't improve, because then you lose your negotiating power as a commissioner to get the right amount of dollars. And if that TV money decreases, then the players' money decreases. So it's all math at the end of the day. It's business. You want the NBA, and think about it. Football is moving in on the Christmas day, and they doing massive numbers. I think the All-Star game, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the lower watches. Or I don't know if it was record-setting, but the numbers were very impressive. The big NBA games, like they were celebrating on Saturday night, the Knicks and the Celtics doing 2 million. But if you would have put, I know football is like once a week, granted, caveat. But if you would have put a football game on a Saturday night, you put like, let's say it was Knicks and Celtics, Jets and Patriots, that would have been like 15 million viewers, 20 million viewers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you have to improve the product, because the hardcores like us, we will watch. We love the game. But the casuals watching this, and it's not a good product for the casual fan. And that's why the viewership is hurting. And that's why if Adam Silver doesn't get this right, he's going to go down as probably the worst NBA commissioner of all time. And the money will get funny when it's time for those new TV deals. What if the NBA becomes streaming only because TV don't want to spend that bread? Who knows? Who knows? You see the WWE got $5 billion. NBA's not going to accept less than the WWE.
Nah.
But do you have a product to support it? Therein lies the problem. You know? Again, comment section, tell us how you feel. Do you think the game needs to improve visually, aesthetically? Let us know. Another thing I'll throw out there for you guys to talk about, I think that there needs to be more nationally televised games. I feel like the era of maybe more ABC games. So go back to the NBC. Remember we used to get triple headers on
Yeah.
Sundays? You don't even get that anymore.
Remember
You gotta go to TNT. Bring the All-Star game back to national television. Shouldn't be on cable in the first place.
Nope.
The NBA is the second biggest sport in America behind the NFL. Why is it on cable? Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Run those numbers up. Help us grow this channel as fast as we can. Before we get up out of here, because we're not one of those podcasts that's going to be on for hours at a time unless we absolutely have to. Right. We got one more segment, and it's about going around the NBA. You know, the thing that stood out to me, Mace, are teams like Minnesota, you know, having a really strong season. Oklahoma City having a strong season.
For sure.
It's kind of like turn the Western Conference standings up on its head. So I ask you, when you take the observations of like, I guess you could say we're about 60% away through the season. What are the things that have stood out to you so far as around the league? You open your league pass, you go in your Bleacher Report, you look at the standings, you see the news. Like, what's the thing? It's like, oh wow, oh really? That's crazy.
Within the Western Conference specifically, it's just kind of the how mediocre some of the teams that I thought would be great would be. You know, right now, that play-in, you know, I can say it looks competitive, but that's more because of the names, right? We got the Lakers in there, we got the Mavs in there, we got teams who I thought would be a little bit stronger this year. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that I thought somebody would, you know, because I feel like when teams like Denver win the title, it reminds me of like the Raptors in 2019. Right. It's usually like a fight for, you know, relevance afterwards. Like teams look at that team and say, hey, they won a title. Any of us could have won a title. So, you know, I'm not impressed with, you know, how the Western Conference reacted to Denver's domination last season. They all seem pretty mid to me, if you want to be honest.
And that's a surprising thing because, you know, if you follow the league, like real heads know, Denver winning the championship is not that surprising because they had all the tools. They lost Jamal Murray for a year. Let's remember that. I think 2 seasons ago, before we even had a podcast, I was on somebody else's platform, and I was saying I'm looking at Denver as a dark horse team because they have all the tools you need. Lo and behold, they got healthy. They got Jamal Murray back. They're one of the biggest teams in the league as far as length goes. Pause. And I just looked at them and I'm like, I'm not surprised they won. What are you going to do with them? They play together as a unit. They have a selfless superstar. Some people say they're trying to start the narrative that he's stat padding, but it's like the game is so easy for him. Like even if he is, how can you prove it? Because like this minimal effort. Like he had a triple double the other day. We're talking about Nikola Jokic, but he didn't miss a shot. You know what I mean? If you want to start pushing stat padding rhetoric because you got to find a way to knock him down, so be it. But this team right here, teams are not taking them seriously. And I was taking it a step further. They weren't paying attention to their OKCs. Nobody had Minnesota being this good. That just shows you that Anthony Edwards has made the league. But it's like, are we going to see a second half push? You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the Golden State Warriors as a team. They made a very questionable decision, in my opinion, moving on from Jordan Poole. Granted, Poole had to go. Everything happened with Draymond. Understood. But Jordan Poole was an asset. And you traded him for Chris Paul because he's an expiring deal. You made a business decision that had nothing to do with basketball. Because again, Chris Paul in what way helps Golden State as on a championship level? He already got hurt and missed about 2 months. He's gonna get hurt again. You like what are you thinking? Are you telling Steph that you're white flag entertainment? You're waving the white flag? Golden State's failing me, Mace. Like I don't get it.
Listen, and you know, Draymond and Chris Paul just had like a 2-hour podcast, like you just mentioned, talking about how much they love being each other's teammates. I'm glad that's working out because on the court, it's not doing anything for me. You know what I mean? And so I agree. Jordan Poole looks like, you know, the worst player in the league right now. You know what I mean? Like he looks bad out in Washington, like people usually do. But I agree with you, Job. How do you give up on, you know, what a lot of people would have said was your second best player in your championship season for over hurt feelings? You know what I'm saying? I just expected that the Warriors did smarter business than that. Light years, right? That's what he said.
Yes, but they've on 2 separate occasions they cut those light years drastically by siding with Draymond. Not to say they should have gotten rid of Draymond, but he essentially ran the person that will replace him in the big three out of town. He ran KD out of town. Say what you want. He didn't make KD feel welcome when he said what he said about, oh, we did it without you, et cetera, et cetera. You ran KD out of town. Then you punched in Jordan Poole in the face. And granted, if the reports are true and JP did throw to Frank, all right, okay, we understand that. But then again, I've seen multiple occasions where Draymond Green is mouthing off the opposing players, and he throws to Frank on a regular basis. So now your teammate throws to Frank in practice, and that's a problem. When you're a professional Frank thrower, like you do it all the time. He calls people the P word. He's inviting them to the Frank stand. Jordan Poole says it, and you duff him. That's jealousy, gang. You got benched in the finals. JP didn't get benched in the finals. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of hurt feelings there, and I feel like the story of Golden State, whenever they do their rendition of The Last Dance, it's going to be that they could have won more had it not been for Draymond. If we're going to tell the truth, they could have won more had it not been for Draymond. Joel Lacob got up out of there. He saw what was going on. He seen what was going on. And it's like for you to trade. And the thing is, Golden State last season, I don't know what happened. They had the championship season. You had Otto Porter. You had Bjelica. You had a lot of length. You had Kuminga, who was getting missed with that team. Kuminga's also like 6'10", I think. So you had a lot of length on the floor to hide the fact that Steph is a bit small. Draymond is undersized. And then you chose to go even smaller the year you defend the title. And I looked at that roster and said, if they had a little more length, maybe they beat the Lakers. But then you went and you got smaller. You didn't. All right, if you're going to trade Jordan Poole, you're not going to trade him for a 6'8" guy who can hit some threes. You're trading for Chris Paul, so you go even smaller and older. To me, this is self-sabotage. They wasted the end of Steph Curry's career, in my opinion. And if Clay decides to walk, I wouldn't blame him. This team is not in good shape to win a championship. There's another move that I thought was very confusing at the time. Drew Holiday ends up in Boston, right? To me, Drew Holiday, when he ended up in Portland after the Dame trade, that was the player that Golden State was supposed to. If you're going to go small, get a Drew Holiday who plays big. But going over to the Bucks, they broke up their continuity for a shot at Dame Lillard because the league was petty enough to say that Dame shouldn't go to Miami. I don't know what the league's rationale is, but Dame Lillard was supposed to be Miami. Everybody knows that.
We know it.
But the Bucks, the record might not say it, but they've been optically disappointing. A fired coach, Doc comes in, slow start with Doc. Is this a team that we need to take? Are they serious people? Should we be looking at them as a title contender still?
I'm a big Giannis believer. You know what I mean? He's, ever since he's gotten to his prime a few years ago, he's played his hardest. Even if he don't shoot the best, Giannis don't ever really let you down, especially once he broke through the wall in that championship season.
Right.
You know what I mean? But what I'm seeing is a bad team, y'all. I'm seeing a bad team. Listen, Dame Lillard, we thought, they were saying Kobe and Shaq. How many Kobe and Shaqs have there been? James Harden and Embiid, Dame and Giannis. You know what I mean? It's been, I think Harden and Dwight Howard with Kobe and Shaq too. It's been a lot of Kobe and Shaq. Not one chip though. Interesting. But listen, Dame has not come through. The articles just came out. He's talking about how he's lonely, how he's sad. You know what I mean? And that change of scenery is not doing him well. He's not the impact. His offense isn't impactful enough to make up for what Drew Holiday not only brought on defense, but facilitating leadership, in the locker room. There's a lot of things that Drew Holiday provides. You know what I mean? Like from the Pelicans to the Sixers, Drew Holiday has always been essential to whatever sort of success his team attained. So I thought that was a bad move in general. Like if you could have got off of Chris Middleton and Scoop Dame, that would have been a better move. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to say I told you so, because a lot of people were expecting them to run through the league this year. But if you're looking at the team defensively, they just lack. You know what I mean? And there's no sort of scheme. There's no sort of, rotations you could do to get past the personnel. They don't have the personnel to defend on the perimeter. You know what I mean? And when they get deep into the Eastern Conference playoffs, it's going to rear its ugly head. You know what I mean? And right now, Dame is not he's not close enough to his prime form to make up for it. You know what I mean? They can't outscore you.
You know what? And that's the thing. This might be a situation where some players get into situations where the only version of their best self exists when they are the focal point. When I saw this trade go down, I thought Dame Lillard and Giannis operate on two different stratospheres as far as where they are on the basketball court to get their points and impact the game. But for some reason, the chemistry is just odd. You know what I mean? And then you have situations where I'm almost looking at this like a Boston Celtics situation, Kyrie's last year, where it's like, do players really know what their roles are? Do they understand the pecking order? You know what I'm saying? Because you need a leader of men. I think the reason why that coach Adrian Griffin got fired is because he was not a leader of men. That's a real thing in the NBA. So I know the X's and O's are generally the same in a lot of situations when in crunch time. Throughout the game, the out of timeout, the X's and O's, that's a different type of argument. Some of the systems are slightly different because, like, to me, like when you look at the Knicks, who we'll talk about in a second, they don't necessarily run offense the same exact way that the typical NBA teams do. But in crunch time, it is a pick and roll action with Jalen Brunson, and then you figure it out, or a bad shot from Julius Randle or something to that degree, right? I look at Denver, and that moment's gonna stick with me forever. Dame hits a game-winning three-pointer, and Brook Lopez is mad that Dame didn't pass the ball when he was a trailer, because in his mind, Dame took a bad shot, and he was open for the shot. Whole team is celebrating. And he pulled up to talk to Dame in the midst of the celebration to whisper in his ear, still not celebrating, mind you, to tell him that he was open. And I think about, what was the name of Boston's coach that at that time when Kyrie played with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
Brad Stevens?
Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens got out of coaching in the NBA and went to the front office because he's not built to lead men.
Right.
Say what you want about Doc Rivers. Say what you want, and there's a lot you could say. But he is a leader of men. Guys need to know their role. Like, don't ever run up on Dame Lillard after he hits a game winner to tell him you was open. Middleton needs to accept the fact that he's not a dominating scorer.
Right.
He never was, but he was asked to be a lead player with that Bucks team. You're not that. You've been hurt. Even like I'm looking at your body, pause. You've gained weight. You're not as explosive as you used to be. It's not your fan. You feel me? Like, move on. You're the third option. Brooke, you're the fourth option. The only person that's played his role to a T is Bobby Portis. Right. I feel like if guys play their position and they know they role and they let Dame be Dame, let Giannis be Giannis, their lack of talent at the end of the bench will be hidden because you have two forces. Shaq and Kobe didn't win with super teams. Not to say that these guys are Shaq and Kobe, but to me, when Dame is at the peak of his abilities and Giannis is at the peak of his abilities, these guys are forces of nature that don't need much else around them to win a championship. You'll miss the defense of Drew Holiday, but you're not getting them type of buckets. You're not getting no clutch time performances from Drew Holiday that you'll get from Dame Lillard. So I need Doc to get these guys in line. But if you change coaches mid-season, that tells me almost automatically that you're not a serious championship contender. And that takes me over to the Knicks, because there's a lot of Knicks fans saying this they can sneak it to the finals this year. They can sneak to the 2 seed and make some noise. Granted, there's been some injury concerns, but I look at the Knicks and I'm very surprised because I didn't think last season was serious because the Knicks are the Knicks. You know, I call them Bozo Nation because they always find a way to mess it up. Are the Knicks real life contenders, or are they just going to be a 4 seed that's going to get beat in the second round and run the second round treadmill yet again?
Listen, y'all. Any initiated NBA fan knows that the forces of Dolan, the forces of MSG, and the forces of Tom Thibodeau combined will not let this team make the NBA Finals. These guys are going to be so hurt and tired by game 3 of the second round that they'll be lucky to even get to the conference finals, y'all. They're already getting hurt you know what I mean? They're already in there. We're getting hurt stage. You know what I mean? This is no disrespect against the Knicks because they've impressed me this season. Jalen Brunson, listen, The Mavericks are looking crazier and crazier. This is looking like Steve Nash 2.0 for Mark Cuban and them. You know what I mean? Like, no idea why they gave up on the guy who they got to the conference finals with. Julius Randle, you know, we're Lakers fans, so we have an up and down history, pause, with, you know, Julius Randle. But I've been impressed. You know what I'm saying? He's simplified his game. He's not doing too much. He's eased into that second option role. I'm impressed. You know what I mean? You listen, their role players, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, these guys, they've impressed me. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean? I can't say that the Knicks haven't shown me, you know what I mean, that they are serious this season. But we know too much about a Tom Thibodeau team. He keeps that rotation too tight. He plays his player too many minutes. He treats every game just like Kevin Garnett did. You know what I mean? Kevin Garnett needed somebody to tell him to relax. You know what I mean? He didn't, but because by the time you get to that conference finals, you need that extra gear that Timmy Duncan had. You know what I mean? And Tom Thibodeau, he doesn't allow for his players to have that in the tank. You know what I mean? The Chicago Bulls, once upon a time, were a team that they were pushing. They were supposed to be, you know, Miami's, you know, issue. I know Derrick Rose had the injury, but even after the Derrick Rose injury, they were a problem in the regular season. And that's because Tom Thibodeau pushes his team to the very edge. Playing his team is like playing a playoff game. You know what I mean? So when you get in these teams that lack intensity, that lack discipline, a Tom Thibodeau team is going to beat them. So his team always look a little bit more lethal in the regular season. And I say that to say the Knicks won't have enough to make a finals run.
I mean, you said too much. I'll be clear right now. Like, the Knicks are a mirage. This is not a real team. Like, all this talk about the Knicks and Knicks fans getting hype and acting as if they about to make some type of noise. Again, anytime there's some kind of progression with the Knicks, there's a regression. Yeah, they made these trades. They got Bogdanovich. They got this guy. They got OG Anunoby. You know what I mean? They for all intents and purposes, they were making a run at it. Only for Julius Randle to get hurt. You know what I mean? I think at a certain point, Brunson missed a game or two because he has a hand or a shoulder or something to that degree. The Knicks are not meant to be taken seriously because their karma is that they're never going to find a way, or they're going to always stub their toe. All that talk, Stephen A. Smith on First Take, and yeah, the New York Knicks are going to do this and that. And it's like, they're still the 4th seed in the East. If the season stopped today, they're playing Boston in the second round, and they're getting beaten 5 games. And if memory serves me right, the Knicks got beaten 5 games by the Miami Heat a year ago. So at the end of the day, it's like all this hype, all this pomp, all this circumstance, the Knicks, until they actually cross the second round, there's no need to have this conversation. Knicks fans get so loud and obnoxious, the worst fan base in all of the NBA, and it's like, y'all haven't earned it, y'all don't deserve it. Y'all got loud for Trae Young, he packed y'all. Y'all got loud against Miami, Jimmy Butler packed y'all. Y'all got loud at the trading deadline, and you got these players got hurt. You're still the 4 seed after all this talk. You're gonna get packed by the Celtics in 5 games. I don't want to hear about the New York Knicks until they do something substantial. The whack fan base, y'all can keep it. I'm sorry. But we gotta get up out of here, Mace. I know you had one more question before we broke up out of here.
Yeah, Joe, this is the inaugural episode, so I feel like, you know, we starting off midway point in the season. We gotta let, you know what I mean, we gotta let our flags be known. We gotta let them know what set we repping, Joe. We gotta let them know what's their top 3 MVP picks at this point in the season.
Top 3 MVP picks. Ooh, you know what? Granted, he's hurt and is probably not a serious pick, but what he was doing prior to that knee injury, I'm not taking Embiid off my ballot. He'll just be 3rd on my ballot. Second for me, we got to go over to OKC. I know NBA politics is that they're really waiting for Chet Holmgren to make the leap so they can say Chet Holmgren in the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we got to talk about the homie Shea. Shea's my number 2 because you look at the stats at over 30 a night. The true face of that franchise. Granted, he might walk whenever it's his turn to walk. I don't see him in Oklahoma City long term. But while he's there, number 2, because he is the engine that's carrying the most surprising team outside of the Minnesota Timberwolves this season in the NBA. And number 1, like, y'all can say what y'all want because again, the NBA MVP is more about narratives in the storyline, more so than actually who deserves it. But if you ask me, all hail the king out in Denver. It's Jokic until proven otherwise. The guy's game is effortless. and dominating at the same time. He's doing everything you want. He's an analytics celebrity. He's a counting stats celebrity. He's a fourth quarter player. He gets his buckets, and he's a world champion. I don't need to hear nothing else. He's my number one for MVP as of right now.
Listen, Job, I'm not mad at that. Me personally, I had to take Embiid off of my ballot because unlike Jaylen Brown, I think you got to come to work to get rewarded. You know what I mean? I know Jaylen Brown says 65 is too much, man. I need Thursdays and Fridays off my week at work. Okay. But listen, I have Shea number 3. What he's done is extremely impressive. In just like you say, the counting stats, the efficiency numbers. He's shooting like 55%, man. He's shooting like 80s Jordan numbers. Like, you know what I mean? And he's not even.
And this game is so smooth, bro. It's ridiculous.
Right. He's not like overwhelming athletically. You know what I'm saying? He's what, I didn't get to see him in his prime, but he's what Penny Hardaway, what they said he was to me. That's what I feel like I'm watching with
He
Shea,
might be better. Real quick, Mason, not to step on you, but just for the people. 31, 6 and 5 on 55% shooting right now. For a guard who's not 6'6". Like he's still on the smaller side by NBA standards.
30 a game, and I believe he's only shooting like 3 threes a game, right?
Come on, man.
Come on. Man.
Kentucky don't win no championships, but Calipari produces them pros, boy.
Listen, that's a factory over there. You know what I mean? So I gotta give Shea his props. He's third in MVP voting for me. Number 2, I have our guy Jokic, who I believe is the best player in the NBA. If there was a playoff series and I needed one player, you say, I'm picking Jokic right now. I believe he's dominating on a level that, the peak players that I've seen in my lifetime, the Kobe Bryants, the LeBron James, the Steph Currys. Jokic is dominating on that type of level for me right now. And it's a completely different way than all of them. So it's kind of even crazy to watch. So salute to him. But number 1, Job, listen, I've never been a guy who thought that the record needed to be, the number 1 thing that I thought. I think Kobe needs 5 MVPs. I think LeBron needs 6. I think MJ needs 10 MVPs. And that's why for me, listen, I hate the heliocentric offense as much as the next guy. But Luka Doncic is having the best season in the NBA, dog. I'm sorry, man. Dominating on another level. Luka Magic, okay? The guy is making a fool of the league right now. I'm sorry, Joe.
Not in the standings. Not in the standings. Yeah, I mean, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? We'll let the people decide in the comments section. Who's your top 3 MVP candidates? You know what I mean?
Let us know, man. Let us know.
Yeah, but that's the Around the League segment. There's every episode we're gonna go around the league. If you got any suggestions of where we need to visit when we go around the league to talk about it on the next episode, do let us know in the comment section below. And of course, as we get up out of here, like, comment, subscribe, give us critiques if necessary, what you liked, what you didn't like. This is episode 1, the pilot episode of Pace of Space. I'm your boy Job. That is the homie Mace. Get familiar, lock in, and if you love rap and you're unfamiliar with this podcast and you're pulling in, we are also 2/4 of the best rap podcast on the East Coast, the Rap Roundtable. The YouTube link for that channel will be in the comment section below. So if you love rap and you love rap and you love the NBA, but you didn't know we existed, well, welcome and subscribe to both channels. But you know what I mean? Mace, take us home, family.
Hey, man, that's your boy Job, you know what I mean? They call him the point guard, you know what I mean, on my block, and I'm Mace, you know what I mean? I like to talk a little bit, you know what I mean? Maybe, we'll figure out what to call me. And this is Pace and Space. We out of here.